there's a lot going on. It's
Dude.
I just experience that as intensity. So like when Mercury in retrograde comes around, I think it's 3 times a year, something like 6 weeks or something. Sometimes I get my best work done. It's so intense. It feels so electric. There's so much petty stuff going on. I don't know if you've noticed that. So you can't fall for the petty stuff because
Yeah.
you'll just get like caught up in some small little thing. But energy is real. This stuff is real. And I look
Yeah.
at it like a weather report. If you know it's gonna rain, you don't yell at the rain when it's raining. You just kind of like, oh, this is like a normal part of it. So if you know energy is gonna be static and you know it's gonna be like crazy, then you like deal with it appropriately, and then all of a sudden it's not as bad as you think. I mean, we're all in it, but you don't have to react to it. It's kind of like it's supposed to be like this. It's supposed to be here. So but it's intense. I feel it.
I am right there with you. It's been an intense couple of days. And going back to the like these influences on our planet are real. They did this I don't know,
Yeah.
did you know about the snail study that they did?
No, tell
So,
me. What's
all
that?
right, all right. So I'll probably have some of it wrong, but just go with me on
Okay.
it.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So they do the study about they're trying to figure out like snails. They're very slow. They go, and then they're trying to figure out like the percentage of times that they're going left or they're going right, depending on like whatever they're trying to study. And what they ended up finding out is that it was the moon cycle that like where the full moon was affecting where these snails were gravitating towards. And like, of course, there's like intricacies in the study and everything, but we have such a small, or seemingly small, creature, and not, you know, not as advanced as we would like to believe they are, because we're humans and like hubris of that, um, but these snails, they are affected. These very small organisms are affected by the cycles. Like, why wouldn't we? We're on the planet. Everything on the planet is affected by these different energies, and is going to react in different ways. And we're very complex organisms in ourselves. Like, why wouldn't that show up?
Mm.
Because we have
Right.
control. Because we control ourselves, Graham. I control me. I am in all of the control, Graham. That's
Yeah.
why.
Man, that we can all learn from the snails, right? Because I think humans are coming to that experience of, for so long humans saw themselves as the center of the universe, as, call it like, the master of the universe, and they
Mhm.
try to force their way into things. And clearly all that's just being destroyed because we're not the masters of the universe, right? There's stuff so much more powerful than what we are, that I think the alignment now is letting the universe be the master of you. And the snails have figured that out. So they go naturally where they're supposed to go, right? The universe is working magically perfectly. There's everything happening over the millions of light years away. It's all working perfectly. There's explosions, collisions, all this crazy intensity is going on. And of course, if we tune into it, we can find rhythm. And if you study nature, nature does it effortlessly. We came in and like fucking tried to like math our way into like other things, you know what I mean? And like do that. And it must have had a purpose because humans did that, right? We worked on efficiency and going against nature and just kind of like doing these things, willpower, all these things. And it must have had some reason for it. Now it doesn't. Now, if you try to force that now, you're going to die. And that's my experience with the intensity. Is like it's so real that if you try to force it right now, if you don't let yourself learn how to gracefully be a part of things that are so fucking powerful. I don't know anyone right now who can will their way through it. I don't know anyone that strong. And maybe they've been able to do that the last couple hundred years. But every human I know right now trying to will their way through it, I'm like, you're walking right off the earth. You know what I mean? Like it's basically, in my mind, it's surrender and tap into this and learn to like be with this energy, or else good luck trying to go against that. Holy shit. That's like, like,
I feel like that's okay. So like last week I'm down in San Clemente and I decide to swim down there. And this is like open water swim. and I'm swimming from one part all the way to the pier. And there's a very long stretch. I've never swam this before. It's my first time swimming in this area because all of the rhythms are different
Yeah.
in the ocean. And every day is different. The way that the wind is pushing, it's all different. So I'm like, you know what? Here we go. We're just going to go with the flow. It's ocean, it's waves. Let's go. Right. So I get in the ocean and I swim out and I start swimming. I'm trying to swim parallel to the shore, right? So I'm trying to go all the way down, trying to hit that pier and then come right back, right? So I start going and I'm like, okay, yeah, everything's good. Boom, boom, yeah. I'm like in the middle of the ocean. I'm like, I love my life. I am powerless. Oh, like, all of this, like what, you just realize how small you are and
Yeah.
you are not in your element in the ocean. Like there is like you can't kick and scream. I mean, you can, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
highly inefficient and is ultimately not going to serve you unless it's just, teaching you a lesson. But I start going and I'm like, oh, this is great. And then I start realizing, I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm in a rip. I'm 100% in a rip.
Oh,
And I'm like, that's fine. I'll just swim over. No big deal. Either that or I'm just going to get more reps in because I'm just swimming in a rip. That's fine.
yeah.
Like, that's what I'm here for. Okay. So I end up swimming, like, get through the rip. I get all the way down to where, and like, this is a long swim. Like, this is like an hour and a half, like 2 hour swim. Like, this isn't
Wow.
just like, oh, I swam for half an hour. It's like, no,
Right.
I'm in the middle of the ocean. Like, I'm getting it out there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
goggles, cap, like I'm
Yeah.
like
Wow.
serious business out there.
Real deal.
One piece. No. Okay.
Mm.
So so I turn around. And I'm like, sweet, I've arrived. This is great. I'm in the ocean. I'm like looking up the sky. It's a beautiful day. I see people on the beach. I'm taking it all in. I'm praying and giving gratitude and thanks. And I'm just like, God, I live in such an amazing place and life. And I'm just taking it all in and loving it.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and I'm like, all right, here we go. Time to go back. Because as soon as I'm looking forward to when I get done with this swim, I've
Yeah.
physically exhausted myself and I get to go and lay on the beach in the sun and meditate.
Yeah.
And then I get to get the downloads. I get to tune into myself and I just get to really enjoy just being hugged by the sun.
Yeah.
So I turn around. I turn around and I realize that it's now very choppy.
Mm.
So there's wind, there's waves, and essentially the way that the currents are coming in, like I am literally fighting the current,
Mm.
or I'm going to be going against the current to go back. And like there's no like, oh, how can like I literally just have to go against the current the entire way. And
Mm.
it's so choppy that I can't even breathe on this side because every time I lift, it's like and I get like this mouthful
Oh my God.
of salt water, which I'm kind of into, and it's okay, but I like can't breathe, so I'm like, okay, I don't want to. Okay, here we go. So I'm only breathing on this side. I'm doing my thing, and like I'm working very hard, and trying to be as efficient as I can with what I'm doing, and I like look up and I'm like, shit, I haven't gone anywhere. Like
Wow.
I'm like, oh man, okay, how am I gonna get through this? Cause
Wow.
I don't know.
Hmm.
And like I changed strokes. Like I prayed about it. I realized I'm like, oh shit, I was in that rip a minute ago. Like I'm gonna be in the rip against the current now. Okay, how do I do this? So like I'm like, okay, how can I create more harmony in this moment? Like what can I
Yeah.
do that's going to be the least amount of resistance? How do I work with this nature to get myself back to where I need to be?
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, at any point, I can swim out and I can get on sand and I can freaking walk. Okay, like that.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I'm in the middle of the ocean and this is like life or death. So, but
Yeah.
I'm like, and there was a couple of times that I was just like, is this a redirect? Is this dangerous for me to be out here? Are you trying to push me to shore?
Mm.
Do I need to get out?
Mm.
And like I was like trying to be as highly attuned as possible in that moment, thinking, okay, well, if there is something that's dangerous, and I'm being pushed into shore, then I should probably go with that. And then there's that other part of me that's like, no, we are going to finish this swim. Why?
Yeah.
Because we committed to finishing the swim. Okay. Um, so anyway, so I end up
Totally.
like good news. I end up finishing the swim after, I almost like breaststroked the way there because
Yeah.
that was gonna be the most efficient stroke for me. And it worked out. So
Mm.
I don't know. It's so the reason why I tell this story, right? Like it is like there's so many interesting things in there of being in harmony. You know, one of the things that I love that you say is like being where your feet are, or like being in
Yeah.
the ocean where I'm at, and understanding that I am completely not in control, but I can be attuned to what's going on around me and switch my strategy so that I can essentially work with nature to get myself safely back to shore so that I can meditate
Right.
and be hugged by the sun.
Come on. That's man, what a powerful story. I'm glad you're all right. That's real when you're out. The ocean is real. The ocean is the great humbler. No matter how strong you think you are, the ocean's power is so immense. And what a great way to literally know there's energy waves, because just look at the water and every day the waves look different. And you're like, what's making the waves do that? Energy's different, right? And it's based on where the moon is. And then where the moon is based on like your cycle and based on everyone's cycle. So like this whole shit is tied in. It's just I think we're coming to grips with like, okay, let's figure out how to be tied in with this. And because I think we have an intelligence that's far deeper than our willpower, and a lot of times, what I noticed about willpower or like going against nature, um, after a while, I mean, you can't do that. Like nature's going to win. You know what I mean? Like nature ultimately is going to play itself out. And if you try to like you're not stronger than the moon's power. You're not stronger than gravity, or like whatever. Oh, like that's impossible. You know what I mean? Like gravity far supersedes your willpower, and so with that, I find myself like finding strength in the surrender to that, which is counter to like my competitive upbringing, which is like never surrender. But then I start to realize that surrender is where you tap it, where you can like surf a big wave. So if you want to learn how to ride a wave, right, you have to surrender to like this is how a wave works, and I have to be a part of it. And then big storms create big waves, so big tension. Right now we're in Mercury in retrograde, right? So I'd call this big waves. Is there a lot of big wave surfers out there? No, no. This is a danger, and big wave surfing is dangerous for you if you don't know what you're doing, right? It's dangerous. So right now we have an energy that's so electric, but we're all a part of it, and most of us haven't been trained on how to be in this space and how to like align with energy. In fact, a lot of times you say energy, people just immediately check out and think that's like full of shit or you don't know what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And now they don't say that. They're like it's super real. But so I think this whole philosophy of learning to surf waves, aligning with the ocean is a great philosophy. Right, you find yourself in a rip, you're cranking, you're a world class athlete, you got your willpower, you're going, and you didn't move anywhere. You know what I mean? And that riptide was like, you're not going anywhere. You're still in the same fucking place, no matter who you are, no matter how strong your affirmations are. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain point where you surrender to what's going on, and like a rip, you're supposed to like go to the side, right? You
Mhm.
figure out like if it's pulling against me, get myself out of it. Like you work with it, or when you first get in it, let it pull you way out. Let it pull you out. So save your energy. So the moment you actually have to like survive, you didn't burn all your energy going against this thing that's happening. So that's hard though. This shit is hard, but I'm grateful for this time right now because it just brings everyone back to the present to read energy. Like I take my kids down to the beach, and the first thing I try to do is we look at the waves. Just so you start to see waves. And like you said, if you see white caps, what does that tell you? That tells you something, right? That
Mhm.
means there's wind. That means there's wind. That means there's energy moving, right? So you can look at water and learn a whole bunch of stuff about the energy that's powering the water. Even if we can't see the energy, but we can see that it's affecting matter, right? The energy move. It makes like all this shit happen. Even though if we can't see the energy, we see it affect form. But if we can align with that energy and start to read it, I mean, it affects, like I said, it affects my wife's body. Her body's lined up with energy, with a moon. You get like 7 women together for a couple months, everything lines up, right? The periods line
Yep.
up. So there's this like this shit happens, right? You're just like, okay, like there's something lines all this stuff up. Uh, I'm thankful that we get to learn the power of that now, and this is coming in to like form. I don't know how else to say it, but like, man, you can't kind of deny it exists, you know?
Yeah, I think for it speaks to like the harmony of like, we're going from this, and I know it's touchy for people, so whatever.
Yeah,
And the masculine and feminine balance, and
yeah, yeah,
understanding the dance of duality, right? Where
yeah.
in any form, where it's a conscious and constant ebb and flow, and it's learning how to ride that, and it's learning how to understand that there is power in each of those cycles, whether it's in masculine and feminine, whether that's in the seasons that are
Right.
coming up.
Yeah,
We can't be in harvest all year. It's
yeah,
impossible. It
right,
doesn't work that way. The seeds, they have to be planted and they have to
right.
germinate, and they have to be watered and nourished,
Yeah,
and then they have their opportunity to grow. And then after they grow big and strong, then we can harvest, and then that land has to recover. The
that's right.
nutrients have to come back to that soil. And then, hopefully we're not using any glyphosate and spraying dumb
Yeah.
stuff on it that is eroding the soil content, but we're going to say it's a nice friendly or extra organic farm. And that soil is now regenerated and even more rich than it was before, because it went through its entire life cycle, right? And
Right.
has gained energy along the way. Why? Because it's aligned. Why? Because it's doing what plants do.
That's right.
It's doing
That's
what
right.
plants do. Like you were, I think the human condition that we're in now is learning how to flow with it,
That's right.
right? And
Totally.
like what our what our individual cycles are,
That's
and like
right.
the different things that are affecting us along the way. And I think that the visibility, we talk that this energy concept is like, oh, we know that it exists. Ooh, energy, consciousness, energy. Ah, it's there. We can't see it, but we can see the way that because we're so oriented towards this 3D reality of like, this is my water bottle. This is
Right.
the water inside.
Right.
Even, like where science has got us obsessed with using our five senses, whereas like, how do bees know how to pollinate different flowers? It's like they see an ultraviolet, like that's real, that's science, but we don't see that, because that's not how our body was
Wow.
designed. That's not how our eyes are designed. Same thing, like our eyes currently now, and maybe that's going to shift here in the future, but our eyes can't see, like we have not been trained how to see energy, you
Mm.
know and I
Hmm.
think that that's part of our growth experience and our evolution as humans, is learning how to tap into it and really feel it, and also see it, whether it's the around, you can't see the actual like electric energy current, but you can see everything around the electric energy current, and you're like, hey, there's definitely something right in there that is energy.
That's
can't
right.
can't see the
That's right.
lightning bolt, but I can see that the tree got burned a
That's
lot.
right. It's one of my first teacher who started helping me when I was a teenager. She can hear it. So
Ah,
it goes from a visual thing to energy. It's a vibration. And science is there, quantum physics is there. So if you need that, it's all there. That like you keep looking at a microscope, getting deeper and deeper. You got this thing that's vibrating, right? You got this thing that's just vibrating, and it turns into can form, right? And it goes back to vibration. So beyond the form, beyond the chatter of the five senses, is a hearing where you can, beyond sight and hearing and tasting, it's deep. And from what I know, they do a ton of work. I'm not there, but I remember when she told me, this is my first teacher. She was like, I listened to the sun. And at first, I couldn't comprehend that because my perception and my awareness, my consciousness wasn't. I was like, I can see the sun, I can feel it on me, but like listen to it. But as you keep exploring and doing this work and getting to vibration and getting to the root of it, If you do enough meditation and have enough where to still those senses and get past your primal senses, there's another dimension. And it's all experientiology, essentially. So this isn't like we read about in a book. It's all just words unless you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And once, you know what I mean? So it's not that's I think that's the new thing that's coming is this isn't like how much can I memorize, pass on, and recite back in an SAT test or what's my GPA. This is like what's your experience. And for us to be trained in learning to listen, to hear, we have to be trained to get past our primal reactions of fear, all that shit, right? And we've been operating from that for a long time. But clearly, there's another dimension. But to get there, it does take some work. You got to go in and you got to experience it. But no, it's I mean it's real. I don't. I'm not sitting here saying I listen to the sun. I'm not there. But beyond my own eyes, I can feel stuff like how like the sense of intuition. What
Hmm.
sense is that? You know what I mean? Like that's different than seeing, breathing, tasting, feeling, touching. Those are like, intuition. Or what about revelation? When something gets revealed to you, like you might be looking at something for a while and then you see the energy behind it and you're like, oh shit, I saw something. That revelation experience is a totally different sense than any
Hmm.
sense we're usually taught of. Right. And then what looks like magic, once you start to become aware of it, magic is simply something you don't know how it works, so you're like it's magic. And then once you know what I mean, once you learn how it works, like if you watch a magician, most of them, you're like, once you learn, you're like, oh yeah, they were just hiding the card here, right? It's not magic. You just learn the mechanics of how it works. The energy stuff, once you get past that it's magic and you just start to learn the mechanics, it's real. Like me and you don't have to argue about gravity. We know it's real because I'm sitting here on the ground. Like I can feel its effect. I know energies are real. I've been operating it from a long time. I don't know if you've had that experience like you, but it's once you tap into it, which takes, in my experience, like mental training, right? You have to explore. You got to be courageous. You got to feel feelings. You got to be vulnerable. You got to do all that. You can break through past your thoughts, like you are not your body and you are not your thoughts. And I think most of my life I've been taught like you are what you think, and this is like this is me. I mean this is my body, but this is not who I am. And that's a huge difference. um, there's a bunch of thoughts going on in my head, but I don't have to align with them or identify with them. Like that sense past our senses, Deanna, that place that hears the sun, that's to me closer to what I align with, the I of what I identify with, that thing. And here I'm informed. I got arms and legs and stuff, and I feel all the human feelings. But I try to make my moves as best I can from an energetic standpoint, which sometimes looks really weird and crazy. And because it's
Yeah.
not like it's not logic, it's not logical, right? It's not logical, but it's kind of how it is. Like the waves aren't logical. You're not like Monday there'll be big waves, Tuesday small waves. Every day we're like, fuck, what's the ocean going to be like? Who knows?
I don't
You
know.
can
Go
wake
down to the shore and figure it out.
Yeah, read it, see what's happening in the moment. Stop, you know what I mean, trying to predict 5 years from now and just be like, can you actually see what's happening now? And can we learn to like find a rhythm with that? So that's what I try to do every day. It's challenging, especially when you talk about the 3D world. Man, it's hard because we're so attached to, I don't know, we're attached to stuff that takes us away from that other sense. And if you haven't experienced that sense, what I've noticed is people don't think it exists. And
Yeah.
what I tell them is just because you don't know it exists, does that mean it doesn't exist? And they'll be like, no, of course. I'm like, it just means you haven't experienced it, but it absolutely exists. And I hope you get a chance to experience it, right? Because once you tap into that, all your moves are made from that level. And you never come back because you're like, that's more clear than operating from logic or, a cunning intellect or something like that. Like, I'll will my way through this ocean. Like, no, you won't. That's not going to happen. Like,
Good
that
luck. You're
shit's
gonna
gonna
get washed up or taken out to sea. Goodbye.
you're gonna learn either way. You know what I mean? Uh, so I'm thankful for this time. I think, but as we learn to manage all this energy, right? It's intense. This is an intense time. Most people I know want to get. They're just like make it be done. And sometimes this intensity is so much you just kind of want to like push it aside and be like, it's intense. Life is intense. When you start to liberate your life and let it come through and you operate from energy, you're just expanding energy. So you get more potent, more potent, more potent, more potent, and that shit is overwhelming at times. It's a lot of energy. So sometimes I find my own self being like, damn, I don't even know if I want to keep unlocking this energy. because it's a lot to deal with. Sometimes that's how it feels, you know.
It's kind of like drops in the bucket, right? Like as we expand, we can hold space for more and more of this energy, and the energy itself continues to push us to hold more and more. And that's an uncomfortable process of like, like you're like I've arrived in this place that I am. I've gotten to this place. Like we like to have these destinations that we must be at. And like we just continue to arrive exactly where we are every single moment, and
Wow.
that continues to push us out and out and out, and our ability to hold more of that energy, or be able to, the more that we experience in our life, the more the more that we can hold space for that for other people, or the more that we can, if we've been through tough, like if we want to bring it to athletic stuff,
Yeah.
like we train and train and train and train and train, and at some point, like, running, let's just say like running 10 miles, at first running 10 miles is a feat and you don't think you could ever do it, but you run 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 in your training, and then all of a sudden you find yourself easily waking up, running 10 miles, and then realizing you're like, oh shit, that's easy. Why? Because you trained. Same thing with the way that we take care of our body, and the way that,
That's right.
we train our mind to be able to hold these different energetic flows, and to be able
Wow.
to unlock those things, right? I find for
Mm.
in my life and myself, I've got this human body that has human needs, and then I've got a gut microbiome that has its own needs. I've got this
Mm.
colony of bacteria. I've got viruses. I've got the virome. I've got like everything that's inside of me that's also trying to, like, it's like in there, like it's like in there controlling. That's like, must have sugar. Like please give us kombucha. Feed us. Like
I love kombucha.
like,
I love it so
like, like, please, make it hard kombucha so we can feel like we're getting we're getting something, but no, because you you stop drinking alcohol anyway. So
much.
what I'm saying is there's so much going on inside my body, like body needs, right? That, like, I find when I take care of my body, when it's hydration, if I give my body the nutrients that it's really craving, if I'm physically moving, or working out, or doing, if I'm taking care of those things, if I am sleeping, if I am recovering, if my micronutrients are on point, I find that being able to ascend into that place where I can listen to that inner voice, and I can actually like feel the energy more.
Mm.
But I find if I decide to treat myself to wine because I had a fillet one night, like the next day, like, and I don't know if it's just my level of skill, or I don't know if it's part of the
Yeah.
ascension, or if it's just not aligned with what my body or my mind needs at that moment. But like those types of things, like alcohol, or just, like excess
Yeah.
sugar, I think excess anything really takes us off our path, or we go off the path to realize we got to get back to another path. um, but we get to this place where we can start to listen to that inner voice, and that becomes stronger and stronger. Why? Because we're giving our human the things it needs,
That's
so
right.
that it can essentially be that, it's a receiver, or like, we can be tuned in to whatever else is going on up here, the higher level things, because we've taken care of this physical need, that 3D need of, okay, well, I've got to feed my human. Because if we're in, you know uh, the nervous system is real, and if we're in nervous system overreaction, whether that's stress, whether that's anxiety, and I'm talking the chronic kind, not just like, oh my god, I almost got hit by a car, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do the dog
Yeah.
dog thing of like, oh, okay, here we go. But the nervous
Mm.
system overaction is a real thing,
Yeah.
where we need to overcome and harness the power of that, and like kind of recalibrate that system, so that we're in creativity versus survival. And that's where a
Mm.
lot of the magic is being able to and I think that's part of the, like, this is part of the human experience. Like, we're
Yeah.
all here, whatever experience we signed up for, and
Yeah.
and for whatever, whatever that means. All of them are exactly perfect how that is, and there's no good or bad, just everything that's happening and moving into the acceptance of that. But we came here for whatever reason we did. We signed on to this awesome planet of Earth where there's infinite possibilities and people and things and
Yeah.
food, and we're on this oasis of a planet. But yeah, we have this really unique opportunity to tune into the
Wow.
divine, whatever that means for everybody else, and learn how to read that energy to bring it
Wow.
back.
You say it so well. You're such a good communicator about very complex modalities. So it's great to hear. No, you make it so simple. I remember I used to teach high school when I first get my master's in sports psych from 2004 to 2010. I worked at a high school in San Francisco called Mission High School, and I was coaching basketball. I was learning the language of mental training to teach the kids. And after a few years there, they were like, "Hey, man, like we have a teaching position open. Do you want to do it?" And I was just making my way through life. My wife and I were together, and I was like, I don't have a full time job, and I was like, I kind of need something. I was like, I don't have a teaching credential or anything like that. And they were like, don't worry, uh, we have some ways to help you do it because you have what they need. It's an emotional intelligence that we're looking for. And the class we want you to teach is a special ed class. And a special ed, these were folks that had gone through incredible traumatic situations, trauma, right? They'd seen
Mhm.
stuff. They'd vacate their body because of terror, because they've seen all kinds of stuff. And as I'm going into class, right, I'm supposed to teach history. And I'm sitting there teaching history. It's like 7 kids in the class. And I'm like, this doesn't mean a damn thing. Like, who gives a shit about 13th century England right now? Like, what does that matter? I'm looking at one kid and he's eating honey packets because that's all he has, honey packets, and he took them from the cafeteria, right? And you're going, there's no chance this kid has the ability to even function here, let alone start to tap into something different because he's eating just sugar from a cafeteria. So that baseline of, man, we have to take care of this body that comes into us. That's the start of me learning to hear, learning to listen to that thing, that frequency that's higher, not the panic, not the fight or flight, not all that stuff. And so what I did one day, I was like, first of all, I'm not going to be good at being a teacher because I'm not going to follow the state curriculum. I'm not going to do any of that shit. I was like, we're going down to the weight room because what we're going to do is work out. And if anything, we're going to learn to get into our bodies by physical movement. Do something to start to impact this body. I couldn't feed everyone in the class. I wasn't going to teach 13th century English history to the kids that couldn't sit still and they were moving like this. I
Oh
was like,
my goodness.
look, so let's go down to the weight room. And so we'd lift weights, and then 45 minutes, we lift weights. And after weights, right, there's a calmness. And they could sit there for a second and they could hear better. And for a moment, they could hear past those primal emotions, right? They could hear something different, a stability, a calmness. And I knew one, I'd have to get out of teaching quick because they were going to fire me. Or I was going to go to jail or something because I wasn't following any rules except for a rule that was deeper, that was like, I don't know how to explain it. So, as everything you were saying is so spot on with like, okay, the baseline for all of this is I got to be in my body. And to be in my body, that means I got to take care of my body. So, a physical movement, a focus on water, a focus on something like what I'm putting in has to be there. I didn't figure out water that. And then my guess is, think about this: if you're actually concerned about money, if you're actually concerned about wealth, long-term wealth over life, if you work energy, you will outperform any other way of doing it. I'm 42 and I have robust energy. I am not like, my peak is not at 50 or 60. I'm like, the way I've designed my life is to let energy be the thing. I haven't sabotaged energy at 25 to go get a job and put it aside. I fucking honored it. It's intense as fuck. But at 42, I have all the wealth. And wealth for me is not, it's the energy, right? Because if I have that, can I keep creating, keep working, keep doing profound things? And then you think about Warren Buffett made 90% of his money after 50. Why are we all in a hurry? Why don't we learn how to make slow money? Why don't we learn how to operate energy? And actually, like, because if your excuse is, I got to make money, I'm like, well, then you don't want to be fragile and in a hurry. You want to take your time and play it out long. You'll never get the emotional rush of winning the lottery. But as you look back over your life, you'll be like, I have substantial wealth. I've created substantial platforms. And the only safety was never the money, it's my ability to deal with energy right now. I know people with money that can't deal with the energy; they're collapsing. So the money isn't the safety, right? That's not the safety. So if we can start to, for me, this all goes from IQ to EQ, and I totally get IQ. There's nothing wrong with that. I love it. But now let's clearly start adding in emotional intelligence. Let's start making that a thing that we start to. So if we're gonna like test and we're gonna like judge where someone's at, let's see how they do with this. Is what I call GPA: gratitude, presence, and awareness. Like, have them work on that instead of some, I have a 4.2. What does a fucking 4.2 mean? You just told me three numbers. I don't, what does that mean? You know what I mean? As opposed to, I'm able to be present and I'm completely aware that this whole thing is energy. And I've been trained on that since I was 5. I'm adaptable. I'm resilient. I can do so many stuff and you can feel it in the moment you meet me. It's more real than like, here's a number. I'm like, numbers on a paper. You're in real time talking to me. Let me see what this is about.
Four 4.2 means that you're really good at working hard and achieving goals that are set out for you that you didn't even sign on to. And I think that's kind of the, we get done with athletics at any point, right? Whether that's high school, you don't go on to college, whether that's college, you don't go on to pro, whether that's pro and you realize that you're going to transition. So at whatever transition that you're at, we get to these we get to these interesting points where we have to reconcile that the hard work that we've done has been a great strategy up until it's not.
Right.
Right, like
Right.
like and also we get to this point too where we start to look back and we're like, did I really want to achieve all those things, or did I just check all the boxes and get all the coins so that I can go to the next level? And then you're like, oh shit, I'm at the next level. um why did I why don't where's the coins? Like, why what do the
And
coins mean? And you're
and
like,
did you
nothing.
level up? Did you actually
4.2.
level up?
Like 4.2, what does that mean? Okay, you got to the next level, but
Of what?
like,
But next level of what?
exact
Like, what did you let? Aren't you still stuck in getting
different terrain,
praise from the
different
outside?
terrain.
You're still thinking the outside's going to tell you you're great, and that's where it comes from. You're still, the education is, I got a 4.2, so most people think I'm going to get into a good college. That's what they think that number means. And then when they get into a good college, they think that means that'll get them a good job. So the entire time, education wasn't the key. They were thinking about getting a job. And I'm like, if you want to get a job, work on networking when you're 10 years old. Do that for 10 years and watch what happens. You'll
Which
know
is great.
everyone. Because
Get
as
a
soon
job.
as you're done with college, the first thing you do is go to your network and try to get a job. And you call who you know. It's not that like the career counselor goes, you got a 4.2, watch who comes to get you. No one's coming to fucking get you. It's who do I know? And who do I know? With the rare exception of like world class athletes who are like, you're gonna get drafted to the pros. That's everyone else. You finish college and you're like, I got a 4.3, and after I finished college, no one ever asked me my GPA ever one time, and no job is ever even concerned about my GPA. And I don't know anyone else's experience, but I remember feeling like, and I went to an academic powerhouse in San Francisco called Lowell. I mean, an academic powerhouse high school. Unreal, like more legendary than UC's, more legendary than colleges. It's up there with like Stanford. Like, go check out Lowell High School in San Francisco. It'll blow your fucking mind. And to get into that, you had to have overwhelming academics. So I get into Lowell, out of middle school. The pressure is overwhelming at Lowell. It's all based on GPA, right? All based on this thing. And I watch it break kids. I watch some, they do it, they know how to deal with it. And I watch it break kids. And by the time I get to UC Santa Cruz, I was the last class, Deanna, that had no grades. And so
Wow.
they were like, in my mind, they frankly understood. They were like, oh, if you want to get good results, don't put all the pressure on results. Put the pressure on the process and learning, because if we actually engage in that, shit, results become profound. Anyone involved in sports psychology or performance coaching knows that. You do not sit there and stress over results. Yet our whole design for education is to stress off this GPA. When people take a test, they're not like, well, I learned sorry. Uh, the first thing they do is go, what's my grade? And they try to translate, what does that mean? Like, what does this number mean? Like, they're not present. They're so worried about the future. And people can get a 4.0 and not, right? They can cheat. People can do all kinds of shit to get numbers, but it may not. And then think about even working hard. Why aren't we taught to work joyous? Working joyous far supersedes working hard. Most people I know that work hard burn out by 22, 23. They're fucking done. And then they're like, why wasn't I taught joy? Joy, I could do this into my 50s, my 60s, my 70s, and
Mm-hmm.
have an infinite capability of drive that far supersedes working hard real quick for some small thing. I mean, all this inspired me to write my book right now, Walk to Win. Like, why are we rushing anxiously when we're 5 years old to get into a school? We're in school, we're always trying to be somewhere else. And you said level up. And then by the end, you realize you never leveled up. Still, like, you never went anywhere. You're still in the same cycle of like, what the fuck? I was supposed to get all this stuff. And you realize you missed it the whole time. What you
Well,
were
and your
supposed to get.
utility belt too is like, I'm wearing a fanny pack now, so like your fanny, like you look after that experience, and you quote quote level up, or you go to a different terrain, and then you look at, like, you're like, okay, what skills do I have, what tools do I have, and then you like look in your little knapsack, or you look on your fanny pack, and you're like, fuck, I don't have anything in there, because I was too busy doing these other things, instead of like, oh, look at this. Oh, I have this beautiful skill. Oh, look at this. Oh, vulnerability. Let me put that in
Yeah,
my little knapsack.
there you
Oh,
go.
joy. Oh, gratitude. Oh, being emotionally intelligent and being a good friend. Oh, let me just put that right here in my fanny.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, like, we sprint through that, like you said, and we get to whatever point, right? Because there's like no end and no destination, but we get to whatever point that we're like, oh shit, and we look around and we're like, what is going on right now? And then you look and you're like, nothing's in my fanny pack. Shoot, I don't have any food. There's no skills in my fanny
Yeah.
pack, my utility belt. Oh my god! And then we start to change the focus, and then by that time, we have, we're in that fight. We've already patterned that fight or flight.
Mm.
We've already exhausted and burned out in a lot of ways. We've already created these beliefs that now we have to break down these beliefs, because that's part of the human condition, and the beauty of the journey that we're on is we get to like build all these beliefs, and then we get to go forward, and then we get to go, oh no, I don't want any of those, and then we get to rip them down, and then we're like, I'm going to replace them with new beliefs that I think are going to be the best beliefs ever. And then we get to like this other place, and then we were like, fuck those beliefs, oh, I can't believe I ever believed that, oh, I got to rip those down, and we're continuously doing this throughout our entire life,
Right.
um, while simultaneously trying to put these skills in our little knapsack and be joyful.
How about that? Man, let's once you realize we're looking for growth, it never stops. So once you experience growth, you can't stop and hold on to that, which is what everyone does, right? They get a certain job they want. They reach, like, I'm working for a GPA, I'm working for this outcome. I finally get my job. Then they fucking hold on. And then it's all done, because what you were looking for was growth and meaning, and that always changes. So when your belief systems change, that's good. You should evolve from 7-year old to a 15-year-old to a 25-year-old. You should think different. And clearly, belief means you don't know. That's why it's called a belief. So as your beliefs evolve, that means you have new knowledge that's coming in. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be holding on to an old belief that you had when you were 4 years old that you know is just crushing you. It may have worked when you were four, but then as you evolve, um, that belief no longer holds weight. So that's, what if we're taught that process, and how gut wrenchingly vulnerable, uncomfortable that feels, and how fucking out, and like the intensity of what it feels like to let go of a belief and to evolve and to become aware. That skill set, that's the thing that takes you where you need to go in life, right? And that's not like, So I feel like the more we become aware of this and we start to teach kids, then the more they have a chance to deal, right? The more they have a chance to function. And I'm so grateful for this, because I was that kid who went to the academic power, who everyone was judging me on GPA, and I was like, you're gonna miss me. Like, and what I mean by that is like this system is so set up, I'm fucked. So if I don't reject this system, I will be right in the middle of mediocrity because I'll never get a GPA. I don't know how to do a math problem. It goes against all my energy, and I'm too. And what I mean by that, I'm too aware of energy. I'm too aware of something deeper than that. So I can't pretend because here I am later on and I make my high school proud, right? I'm like a super alumni everywhere I go. At the time, they didn't know I was going to be that because my GPA wasn't there. They didn't know how to judge me. They didn't know how to see it. Now later on, they're like, holy shit, that was it the whole time. And we were looking at your GPA and you were exactly mediocre, 2.7. You couldn't get in. You were exactly mediocre. So not bad enough to get help, not good enough that we thought you were doing well. But 25 years later, holy shit. So I'm like, good, that's devotion. Now let me tell you how this works so we don't think it's magic. And this is how it works. And start fucking judging people on this because um, you're gonna miss people if we don't help unlock this and make this a thing. So yes, GPA's worked in the sense it drove you to do something, right? It kept your focus. Like it's good to go to school. It's good to like working. And I'm not saying working hard is not good. I'm not saying that. Of course. Like start with the idea of working hard, but then eventually evolve that to working joyous, or else you're going to be miserable and quit. And if
Mhm.
we can start helping, because why would you want to do something that's hard all the time? You know what I mean? Like do it when it's joyous. If you work an hour
Because
doing
it's who we are, Graham. Because that's who we're taught to
my my
idealize.
favorite thing, I love it. I love it getting in a competitive space with those people because I love beating them. And I love them having the moment they go, holy shit, I didn't know I was off. I'm like, don't worry about it. Now you just got your ass whipped. Now you know how this works. And my role in this world was to like win because so people don't think this some hippy dippy energy shit. Some dude wearing Birkenstocks born on a commune, which is what I am. And I was like, man, I was delivered by midwives, all that shit. I'm everything you can write off, right? And I was like, nope, not me. Went to the fucking NBA, director of mental training, got hella people jobs in the NBA, worked with hella number one picks, and it's all on that feminine fucking energy shit. So
Yeah.
kiss my fucking ass. And when I say it like that, they feel the power. Like it sounds masculine, but you're like, he's just talking about serving femininity. So it fucks people up because I just take the firepower of like masculinity, which isn't male or female, right? We all have masculine and feminine
Mm.
energy in us. It's just how you want to use it. And I use the masculine energy to give love to the feminine, which is what I do. And I just knew if I could play the feminine out over time, it's unstoppable. These fragile fucking dudes that need to be number one are willing their way. I'm like, in 10 years, they won't even be competing against me. They won't even be here because they don't have the energy to stick with it, the stamina. It's not even a competition to me. It's not even an actual competition because we're playing on different currents. And if we play the currents out over time, it's not like they're going to be there in the 12th round when the fight gets real. They're not even going to be there because they don't have the stamina, right? Anyone who doesn't have the stamina to walk to win, they're in a hurry, rushing. I'm like, bro, I'll see you late in the fight, and you don't have a chance. My conditioning is too good, and my conditioning is based on energy, and yours is on willpower and math. I'm just gonna fucking dismantle that, and then I'll show you what real math is after. And if we play that out over time, you'll see what it is. Now, not in a month, not maybe in a year. I'm talking 10, 15, 20. I'll see you in decades. And most of the people, anyway, if that makes sense, that's kind of how I operate. And I always felt plagued knowing like, damn, don't they want to win? Because I'm gonna win. And I'd assume they'd ask me how to do it, so we'd at least have a good fight. But they're gonna like will their way, and I'm just gonna gracefully, as best I can, feminine my way, and you know, that's unstoppable. As long as you're down to have devotion, you're down to be vulnerable, you're down to stick with it, face all your fears in life, which I was. Um, shit wins, So I'm like, uh, I want us to be taught that shit. I want us to be taught that. But again, I remember knowing my role was, man, I was taught this by people, like I said, people wearing Birkenstocks. I was wearing a commune, like this hippie commune, and most of the time people didn't take hippies seriously, right? But there was something inside they knew what to do. They knew about love. They knew love was infinite, right? Maybe they didn't make the basketball team or the soccer team, so you kind of laughed. But I was like, I have what they have, and I'm making the fucking basketball team. So you're gonna have to deal with this. and it's a problem for you, especially if you know what I mean, because you're going to make a mistake. I'm going to make a mistake. I'm going to have compassion on myself. Keep going. You're going to be hard on yourself and think you're not supposed to make a mistake, and you're fucked. And I'm going to bury you with love over time because you won't even have the ability to keep showing up because you're so hard on yourself. Maybe your dad was hard on you and he thought that was like being a tough guy or something. I just had women that taught me how to be feminine. I was like, wow, that works. And I had this, you know, I combined that with
Say
the
that
gym.
louder for the boys in the back.
How I get to them a lot of times is I beat them, and then that's sometimes how boys open up. I don't know why, but it tends to be how they open up sometimes. So
Hey, if the
I
message is there, the message is there. Like it doesn't matter how you're served
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
that message, like if it's impactful and if it is serving and you get that message,
That's it.
hell yeah, like I'll take it any way I can get it.
Yeah.
Although I've made the conscious decision in the last 2 years or so that hey, I don't need to learn lessons in loss and in fear. I want to learn my lessons on a higher at a higher frequency, at a higher oscillation, right? I want to be on that higher vibration of how I'm learning my lessons. And you can choose that alignment. And going back to,
That's right.
like we need to be teaching athletes this, right? Where we're teaching them this next generation and the current generation too, right? Where we're saying that, hey, all of these old things that you've been taught, like sacrificing it all, the Rocky mentality of like work hard
Yeah.
and sacrifice everything, get up at 4 at 3 a.m., get no sleep, pound egg whites, whatever it is. Like there's so many fun things there. But we're starting to see this shift, and I think and it's
Yeah.
trickling down even further into the youth athlete, and we're starting to see that in high schools, in middle schools, they're starting to have more meditation time. They're starting to
All
do
right.
breath work. I'm doing workshops with 12-year-olds that, we're talking about box breathing.
Yeah.
Uh, One of their coaches texted me the other day, and she was telling me that one of the girls came up to her this week and said, "Hey, I did that breathing thing during one of my tests, and I felt a little weird, but it worked." And like,
Yes.
like you're like, yes, yes, like they're getting it, they're
Come
getting
on.
it,
Come
and
on. That's it.
like,
That's it.
all right, let's go.
The
We're starting to see so much.
that those are the best moments when someone has that realization. I remember like 15 years ago working with this really good basketball player from the Bay Area. He was phenomenal. Went to UConn to play, and I just taught him. I was like, just take a breath when you feel triggered, instead of reacting. Just like breathe for a sec, you know. And the way we visualized it, we were like, okay, imagine you're a shark. You're a badass. Imagine you're a shark, and everyone's throwing hooks in the water. If you go bite on that hook, you're done. And even if the hook seems appetizing, there's food on it, it's calling you. If you can just take a breath and just choose your response, you'll be able to do more damage in the game. And he was like, okay, okay. And he tried it and it was working. And I remember at one point during the game, I was on the side of the bench and I saw one of his friends, big dude, big ass dude, walking down the stands. I had never met him before. I never met his friend. And I was like, clearly this dude is walking right towards me. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, why would he come to talk to me? It's during the game. He's just walking up to me and he goes, Graham. And I was like, hey, like, how you doing, man? And he goes, hey, that breathing shit that you're teaching Tone, he loves that shit. Great job. I was like, oh, I was like, wow, wow, amazing. You know, so I was like, okay, this stuff works. And one other story, I remember we were teaching breathing at the high school I worked with. We were like, hey, we're just going to breathe for 2 minutes to start practice. Breathing is a great tool. It can help kind of relax you under pressure. And this one kid was like, "This is bullshit. Like, this is such what is this whack ass shit? Like, you're so soft." He was like, "I'm a real basketball player." You know what I mean? Like, blah blah blah. And we were pretty good at that point. We were like, "Oh, okay, no problem." And we were like, "Oh, no problem. Like, no problem." Uh, so we were always getting to the city championship game. So fast forward to the end of the season, we're in the city championship game, and it's intense as fuck, right? Super intense game. This kid's in the game. He's got the ball, and he's just like, "Oh, and he passes it, and you can see him look over at us. And he goes, oh. He goes, okay, breathing. I get it. I gotta breathe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, now you know. like, so that moment where they're like, holy shit, this is real, that's a great moment, and so I love it when people realize like this stuff has power, and it's a way, it's a powerful way.
It really is. And, it's really cool to see all of the things that you're doing and how you're innovating in this field.
I know.
And that's what I want to transition to now. We decided that we were going to have a free flowing conversation. We're like, we're just gonna hit the ground running. We're not going to talk about anything. We're literally going to plan nothing. Both of us are going to meditate and pray before this, and then we're going to do it. And that's what we've done so far. Um,
The best.
One of the cool things that I love about you, amongst many, is, and that I don't think a lot of people know about you, is
Hmm.
that you're doing a lot of music and tracks. You've got some albums. You've got one,
Yeah.
which I downloaded, and which one? It was the Act. It was Act Now,
Act.
right?
Yeah, act.
Act.
Yeah, act.
So
Yeah.
I
It's
listened
an
to it like
aggressive song.
yeah. I'm like, I gotta go. You gotta act now. No time. I gotta go. I got to go
Right.
now. Yeah, Graham, I gotta go now. I'm on the freeway. I gotta fucking go, Graham. I'm late to this. I'm late to volleyball. I gotta fucking go. I know. I know. No hesitations. I gotta go. Anyway, but I would love to know more about
Yeah.
what you're doing now with music, how you're layering your buttery, smooth, soft, powerful voice on top of them to create those neuro pathways for athletes to
Yeah.
start to have, you know, I feel like it's outsourced inner talk,
Uh-huh.
or self talk. It's outsourced self talk until it becomes their own, and it's a way to bridge that
Yeah.
gap. And
That's right.
you get to be the voice in the back of somebody's head. Like I'm really looking forward to, after listening more and more, I get to have you and I just, all right, here we go. Graham's talking to me. Here we go.
Okay. Man, I'm always so blown away at where this journey goes. And I never knew I would make music, and I had no idea that would be. I've loved music my whole life. Always loved going to dances, and I've always loved music and rhythm, and it's always connected with me. And when we made that first album 3 years ago, it's designed to give you an emotional experience. And so, like the song "Act," it's
True.
aggressive as fuck.
Yeah, it is.
You may not want to listen to that song when you're trying to go to bed. You may not, because the album, each song takes you to a different place. So we designed it for an athlete to become aware, or a person to become aware of, okay, what do I need right now? What do I need today? So if I'm listening to Act or the next song, Ruthless, in that sense, usually you're like, I'm low on energy. I don't have much drive. I got to get this shit going. And we all have days like that, right? We got to get going. And some of the other songs, Breathe or Submit, those are about relaxing and
Yeah.
kind of like soothing. So the idea with music is, what a great way to train. Music takes us into the zone. Music can take us to a different emotional state. And on a scientific level, there's this thing called dual encoding. And if you learn through music, it gives you twice as great a chance to memorize it, to retain it, because the melody helps it lock in your brain on a deeper level. I could start singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. We all know the words to it, whether you know it or not, because it's just stuck in your fucking brain. And so learning with melody is profound. Learning with music can make it stick with you. So what I started realizing was, I don't sing or rap, but I can coach. I accept that my voice has a certain thing to it. I don't know
I
why
want
it
to
sounds
hear you
how it's.
rap, Graham.
No.
I would like you to develop. I would like you to, after this, I would like you to send me a freestyle rap.
Okay. Oh boy, that would be embarrassing, and
I
I'm
will
gonna
show
stay
it
in
to
my.
no one. It'll just be for me. It's okay.
Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
We'll do something vulnerable too. If you rap for me, I will sing something for you.
All right.
I don't know what that means. I don't know. We'll play.
We'll figure it out. But basically, music is just a great way to get this coaching. I mean, I love listening to music. So you're in your car, you're lifting weights, um, any moment in your life, you're on a bus on the way to the game, right? You just have it on, and it's just like you have it on the background, and you're getting this information in your subconscious, whether you like it or not, whether you are even conscious of it. These words are getting stuck. The melody is getting stuck, and as you listen to it over and over again, which is how it's designed, it starts to have an impact on you. So
Mhm.
it's non-invasive, it's easy going. It's the simplest way I've ever figured out how to reach people is with music.
And the tracks are
And
dope, man. Like the
yeah,
melodies and the tracks are like they are dope tracks. It's not just like, like flute music or anything like that. Like it, when we like it is dope as you are, right?
dude.
It
Deanna,
is
we
so cool.
are the producers are the ones. My voice is my voice. Uh, I studied a bunch of stuff, so the words come through. They're the ones who bring it to life. It's the music that makes the magic happen. So I work with two like world class producers. Yeah, this isn't like my uncle giving me some fucking beat that he like slapped. This is like some real shit. These are real musicians,
Oh yeah.
and it's captivating. So we're starting in November. I'm going to start releasing heat, a lot of it. We have 20 songs that are almost done, two full
Really.
albums. Yeah, and
Ah,
so we're gonna have it come out and just start bringing it out, and then I'm gonna start doing shows. So doing like instead of like me doing an hour guest speaking show at a company or something like that, I've done a whole bunch of those. I like to collaborate. I don't like being doing all this shit. And one thing I found was being like a guest speaker or a keynote speaker, you're by yourself. I get flown to another state. You sit in a hotel by yourself all night. You're away from your family. I deal with the anxiety of having to get ready to talk. Then the day of the talk, you're the last one to talk. So you have to wait till the fucking end of the whole thing. You're just dealing with all this energy. But then you go do the talk. After it's profound, there's like so much energy. And you go back to your hotel room by yourself and all you want to do is be with other people and like share. So I'm like, I'm no longer doing this by myself. Every time I do a performance, I got my DJ with me. He's putting
yeah.
the beats on, and we're doing a show. And we're gonna do a show, and we're gonna give you an experience when you're there, and make mental training with music a new way of learning stuff because I think people are craving new ways of taking this information in. Everyone is the most stressful year of their life. Every company's looking for ways like how do we give to human beings? How do we help them? How do we like actually be an HR department and like contribute?
Yeah.
And so we're just making loving mental skills music. And the same thing that told me to go do this work 16 years ago with youth basketball players, that same voice that I would listen to, this is the same voice I'm listening to now, and it's just telling me what to do. So for the last 7 months, all I've been doing is recording. What I do is I do the legwork. So we'll see what happens. I don't wait till one day someone gives me money and then I start making music. I start making music and I just start putting money into it. I start investing because I already know someone's going to call one day and say, "You ready to do a show?" And I'll be like, "Yep, I've been preparing for 5 years." And so when your name is called, you're ready. So listening to that voice inside, it gives you a premonition. It gives you some foreshadowing if you can listen to it. This one is like, "Fuck food today, money right now." Ah, this one is like, "Hey, bro, this one is like, hey, in 5 years, you're going to do a musical show. So get your reps in today, dumbass. Like, just go work with music for like 2 hours today and just start doing that. Because in 5 years, I'm going to send you a show and a ton of money. Be ready. And if you don't accept it, I'm going to send it to someone else and they'll get the message. I accept it. I fully accept it, and I've been doing the work. So, Deanna, it's music time. That's the only way I know how to explain it. Is it's just, and that comes from source. That comes from me listening. That comes from me
Mhm.
hearing, and I choose to serve and with devotion and a faith that's rock solid. So uh, we're gonna do shows and they're gonna be fun. And when I do a show, almost like this talk, like we've been on this phone for over an hour. It feels like 5 minutes to me.
Yeah.
So I also realize when I do shows with music, I get a chance to bend time and I get a chance to go into new dimensions, and I want that. So I want that experience. So me being up there with the mic, having to draw in with people and draw in and be dialed in with them takes me to a different place. And I'm not saying that's in a selfish way. I'm like that's why I do it because I'm trying to explore new dimensions, new boundaries, and figure out like what this is, and keep seeking and discovering truth in ways that I couldn't find. So mental skills music. I started a label called Enter the Zone Music. That was the name that came to me with Enter the Zone Music.
All
So
right.
we do the music to help you get in the zone. And sometimes you got to relax into the zone. And sometimes, like acting aggressive, you got to fucking act into the zone, right? You got to come up. And so, act your way into the feeling. That means you may not feel aggressive today or feel like being present. You got to act like it, right? And that's why in that song, I'm getting at you so tough. It's to jar you out of like complacency and get you going. If you already are in that space, that might take you too high. You might be like, oh, too much, right? So that's why you may not need act, right? Just like you don't need an intense workout if you're listening to your body. You're like, what I need is rest today. So if you're tuned in and you're listening to the music as an athlete or a performer of life, you can learn what you need because every day is different, right? Before our call, I was working with a pro basketball player, and he's like, "This has been the best 2 weeks ever." In the previous 2 weeks, I felt shitty, and I was like, "Welcome to the human experience." You know what I mean? Like, if you're like, "I have to feel good every day," that's going to cause monumental stress, and you're going to be anxiously trying to hold on to this one feeling instead of accepting that some days you're not going to feel good. And it's acceptance that allows you to find flow, right? That's how you find rhythm. Not like, I got to feel positive, got to feel great all day. I'm like, that's not how it is all the time. And so the other side of being positive is trying to be positive all the time can overwhelm you, and you're not even living in reality, because some days
Yeah.
you're like, this isn't positive and I want to live in reality. And the more I live in reality, you actually have a positive experience, even if the reality is heartbreak or grief or all the shit we're going through this year, right? All the stress, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, it's positive, everything's great, you're like, actually, I'm hurting right now. That's real. And so that strength to be vulnerable and acknowledge that, it can help you just break through. And I remember when we were coming up, right? It's like, no, be tough, just gut it up. And now that the new strength is, no, I'm going to acknowledge that, because that actually takes more courage than gutting it up. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, hell yeah.
being vulnerable takes tremendous courage. So anyway, I lost track on how we got here, man, but here we are.
No, it's
Music,
definitely
yeah,
music. And that means we're going to be doing some dope stuff together. I know that
yes,
you and I have had
that's right,
two incredible conversations that have felt like a lifetime of friendship and
that's right,
alignment.
that's
And,
right.
I know we're going to be getting together and doing some cool stuff. I'm excited to get your music out there. I'm excited to let more people know what you're doing, how you're doing it. This show thing, I didn't know the show thing. This is the first time you told me about the show thing. I mean, in the lifetime that we've known each other, Graham, it's the first time you told me about the shows.
So, well, listen, I do feel aligned with you, and I knew that when you reached out and we connected. I was like, all right, this is a sign. And I saw all the amazing work you were doing and your energy, and I was like, this is a gift. Like, what an amazing thing. I want to collaborate with you, and we will have a song done this Sunday. So, Deanna, we're in business next week. Like, we have units, mastered, polished, finished product, clean sound good on your headphones, sound good in your car, sound good anywhere. It's that clean, and they're ready to roll next week. It's ready to roll so fast. I don't even have my own store on my site. Shit, like, I got to get all my shit together because the product is here. And where I meditate on and I visualize now is I visualize this like one thing going and reaching places,
Yeah.
and spreading it. And that's where I see our unity coming together. And I find myself really wanting just to help your platform be super successful. That's where my energy becomes abundant. It's not help myself be successful. It's let me fucking help Deanna with everything I have. And I know as I help her, first of all, that's my joy. And as we keep doing that, how are you going to stop that? How can you stop wanting to help someone who's also wanting to help the world in a way that I align with? I'm like, that's where it's at. So I know we're just getting started doing cool stuff and really helping people. And I'm going to want your help to do this show because I want to let people know. I want them to know it exists. And shit, maybe we do it on your platform. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways to do it. We go, hey, we're going to do. And when you sent me your book, I was so blown away. The design was the best I've ever seen.
Thank you.
I haven't read it yet. I was so enamored with your design that I just sat on that. That's all I've sat on. It's sitting right there. I touch it every day because for me, it's very tactile. And I
Did you
need
smell
that.
it? Did you smell it? Like that's like the first
Uh,
thing anytime I do something, like
okay.
the first time,
Okay.
it's like Graham, it's like the weirdest thing. Anytime I bring them in and do workshops with, it's mostly like youth athletes or collegiate athletes.
Yeah.
I bring it in, they unbox it, and they get the book and they smell the book.
Wow.
So these little weirdos smell the book. They're like every time, like it's my favorite thing to watch. I just watch it and I'm like, they're
Wow.
gonna smell it, and they smell the book, and then they get the planner, and then I'm like, it's okay to put it on your face because I can tell they want to do that. Like
Yeah.
it's
They want to feel it.
so. Did you want to put it
I
on your
love
face?
it. it's tactile, it's real, it's stopping to smell the roses for a second, it's real, it's really here, so I was very impressed with that, the design. And I love clean designs. I love it when something like that comes together and is beautifully packaged. It's just phenomenal work. So when I'm making music now and the courses I'm making, I'm putting that same level of integrity that you put in to what you
Beautiful.
design. And I want to make the best, cleanest looking courses, the most attractive, the most palpable, most like, oh wow, there's something that draws me. There's something artistic about this. We're not just dumping knowledge on you and passing that. It's like there's an art in here. And I think going back to music and stuff, I've started to really align deeply as an artist, as like there's something in me that needs to come out. And I can only explain it as an art, as a way of performing. And it's kind of where it's at. So making music is vulnerable. It's scary to put yourself out there. It's like a different lane, but at the same time, it's so liberating for me.
I
And
feel like that's deep embodiment. That's deep embodiment and full expression,
mm,
right?
that's
That
right.
that's you are everything that you are in the moment in which you are doing the thing. You are in full expression in that moment,
That's it.
in full embodiment of your energy, in in addition to all of the 3D parts and the physical manifestation, but it's everything that's coming together in full embodiment
That's it.
for the purpose and the intent of helping athletes, for raising consciousness, for helping them tap deeper into that piece of them so that they can deeply embody and express as their true self. I think that's the
You say it so well. That's amazing. That like authenticity. That's everything you want is someone to line up with their most authentic self, their most deepest sense of self, right? Far beyond your body, right? Far beyond that, aligning. And of course, no, I love my body. It's my body. I want to take care of it. Like you said, we talked about, I got to feed it, give it water. I got to do all this stuff. It's mine. So I want to take care of it. And the more I do that, though, I can tap into that part of me that's even deeper than that. That's in a different level than just the primal stuff in this body. And the primal stuff is cool. It's the human experience. I love that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I love really good food. I love that. I love food. Like, I've always loved food my whole life. And it's just like a palpable pleasure for me. And I love it. And I let myself love it. Started to study Buddha for a while. Then you realize, man, Buddha liked to party. But he did it but he did it mindfully, right? He wasn't out of control. I know people that you love water. If you're out of control, water's too much. I know people obsessed with like their body fat percentage and shit. They're miserable fucking people. So even though it looks like they're into like health, they're obsessed. It's at a level that's crazy, that like that's gonna kill them. And the more I learned about Buddha, you were like, this dude was just living the human experience. And he was down to like enjoy the human stuff. He just knew how to find that balance, that harmony, and not overwhelm yourself with it. Because right, people that throw themselves into work, they're workaholics. Work can become devastating if that's how you do it, right? If you just throw yourself in, you have no consciousness of like your family or anyone around you or the wake of the energy you leave. So um, I find myself giving myself more space to enjoy the human experience. And as I'm here in the human experience, I'm like, what do I love? And I'm like, man, I love music and I love food. I love the taste of food. I love the feeling of sweating. I love being in my body. I love a clean home. You know what I mean? That's all cool. Like, I love that shit. And when I take care of those things, my spirit rejoices, and feels free. So it's like it's a, you got to work together with this whole thing. But trusting your deepest self does take some courage, because sometimes it be what society says or what someone else says you're supposed to be. And you're like, me at my deepest level though is different than that. And I gotta trust that and have faith in that and like stick with that. So here I am making music. Like I'm like, music, where the hell did this come from? I used to be a basketball coach. Now I'm like a recording artist. I'm like, man, that's so wild. you know, but but if growth is the real thing I'm looking for, there's growth, right? And maybe in 10 or 15 years, it'll be something different. Who knows? Who knows what it is? Growth for me allowed me to walk away from the NBA on top. I was a director of mental training for the Jazz. That's a dream job. And I got there and it was like, cool. Growth for me now means I have to walk away from this. That's growth. And it was the right thing. It's fucking so vulnerable, so scary. Logically, all of my peers were like, what are you doing? Every peer I had, what the fuck? It's a coveted job. Everyone wants to be here. You're walking away. I'm like, yeah, because I'm operating from an energetic standpoint.
I'm
So
done. I'm done. I've gotten
there it
I've
is.
gotten
Got what I
the
needed.
instructions and I must go.
That's it. Logic says, hold on, uh, get a 5-year deal, hold on tight. But I don't fuck with logic. I listen to that thing. I listen to energy. It was like, you got what you needed. Your energy expanded. Keep it moving. And then the logic is like, no, why can't I just settle into a job? It's a fucking NBA. Why can't I just get paid? You know, like they can pay me whatever I want. The head coach said, you have the green light, which is a dream come true for him. He was like, do whatever you want. I was like, this is crazy. And I have to walk away? That's crazy. But if I was doing things for money, I would have been fucked in that moment because I would have
Yeah.
stayed there. I would have started to hang on, and then here's my energy. And yeah, I have this dream job. I'm getting paid out of my ass, but this is it. So what's my energy like? Done, done deal. I'm miserable. So I walked away, which meant I had the logic was like, we're gonna die, and you have to go through that experience. And no, you don't die. I started making music, so that's what happened. You know what I mean? And making courses, and now I'm home with my family. I'm not living in Salt Lake, so but the experience of growth means you got to go through this like almost hellish experience. Walking away from the NBA when I literally had a sentence. They said, "We'll pay you whatever you want," and I was like, "Why are you fucking with me like this? Because I have to be home with my family. This is terrible." Now logic is like, because my gut was like, "You're not going to be away from your daughter, your son, and your wife. This isn't even a negotiation. You're out. You've got what you needed. You made it to the NBA. You're the director. Now everyone else knows they can make it to the NBA. You have a pathway. I showed you a pathway. You followed it. You did it. Now get the fuck out, dumbass." And my ego was like, "No, no!" Like this is the slush part. This is when you cruise, right? This is when I'm walking in, drinking green juice. Hey, everybody, wearing like jazz gear, eating like world class food, and you work for 3 hours. You go home, and you're like, but that wasn't it. Energetically, it wasn't it. So having the courage to do that is how I got to music. Like music wasn't there before I quit. You had to make the bold move to follow the energy, even though there wasn't like the thing to replace it yet. That's what I noticed what holds people back is they want to know what's going to replace it. So when I'm walking away from the director of mental training from an NBA job, I'm walking away from that and I don't know what's next. That is so uncomfortable, right? That's
Oh
like
yeah.
most of the time you go back and hold on to that job just because you don't want to deal with that uncomfortableness, even though you know holding on to that job is devastation. I was like, fuck it, I'll just be miserably vulnerable, stay in this weird space, help my friends get the job I just had, watch them get paid out of their ass, which is great. And I just got to sit here and be kind of weird for a while. And then 4 or 5 months later, I'm making classic albums. And I'm not joking. Like, this shit's going to hit. And I'm humbled by that, but I respect that's how it works because I had the courage to create space, sit in the unknown, sit in that weird ass space with no safety, nothing. And from that space, the voice goes, I'm going to make great music with you. And I'm going to connect you with great producers. And here's 20 songs. Here's the theme for the song. Here's the words for the song. There it is. Those are incredible. And I was like, holy shit, this is genius. And I just started writing it down. And then the plan came. So none of it's from me. None of it's from me. I'm a vessel. And that's the work, right? If you can become a vessel, you can let it come through you and tell you exactly what to do. And its intelligence is so intelligent, it's guaranteed to work. All I have to do is be devoted, which I'm down. I'm down. And it'll come through you. And I had to walk away from the NBA, just like I walked away from Mission High School when they offered me the full time teaching job. I was like, I got to get the fuck out of here, or else I'm going to be stuck. Then I'm working at Stanford, right? Same thing. You want to be here all the time? I'm like, no, I got to go. Then the NBA, I'm like, no, I got to go. And it's the craziest experience because you always walk away on top, which is gut wrenching. It's gut wrenching. But then it works because your energy expands. You go through a vulnerable couple months. You come out the other side and you're like, oh, okay. And I'm going to be doing shows now. So all I can say is I honor Source and I have the courage to stick with it during the real fucking uncomfortable times. And that's where my warrior heart comes in, right? It's like this uncomfortable. All I want to do is get a full time job so that uncomfortableness goes away. But if I go accept one of these full time jobs they're offering me, it's going to kill my energy. And if I kill the energy in 2 or 3 years, you're going to know you were a clown. Like two or
Yeah.
three years goes by with that comfort, and you're going to be like, I'm such a clown. Why didn't I have the courage to fucking do what I knew was right? Because you wanted to feel comfortable. Straight up. That call for comfort is so strong, so palpable. And you have to be like, no, I know better than that. I know better. I know better. I know better. Because that comfort is actually cannibalism.
It's
This
that
desire.
siren's call. It's a siren's call, like, oh, come over here. It's so great. Comfort. Get
Oh,
paid. Do the
yeah.
things. Enjoy your
And
weekends.
they, they call you when you're vulnerable. They call you when you're low. They call you when you need the money. They call you in all those moments just to test if you're fucking with that deep shit. And that's how I win them. I'm like, oh, you want to test me? You want to see if I'm gonna bail now? You picked the wrong one. Because I will win that fucking fight every single time because I want to know if God is real. I want to know if it's real. And every time I do it, it is real. And that's the
Yeah.
only way I can explain it. But I have a will to win those fights. And the will means you accept it's going to be vulnerable. You sit there, you cry, you go through it. You don't take anything personal. Don't make some move on money. Don't make some quick move to grab money. You do everything to raise consciousness, what you're doing in that moment. And then as you go through it, you will attract shit to you. It's so powerful. And so I call myself a big wave surfer. That's just what I do. I surf big waves of energy, uh, and that's what I live for. And then after that, crazy ass shit happens, and it calls me in to live comfortable and be like, come get all the success, come get all the glory. And I'll be like, I want to surf the wave. That's what I'm in, not to like be on the beach with all the glory. Like I want to be on the fucking wave. That's the thing. Not like on the beach, like you're the best. I'm like, that doesn't do much. I want to be on the wave. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I live for. And shit, here we are, here
And
we
I am
are.
honored and humbled to be aligned with you and doing really cool things. I'm so excited about everything that you've got coming out and
Come
everything
on.
that we're going to do together. I know the future is the unknown, and that's where we both thrive and
That's
we're
right.
comfortable in it. So I'm excited
That's
to be
right.
out in the middle of the ocean with you. You're
Ooh,
surfing, I'm swimming. I might be body surfing that wave. Uh,
come on. So you're okay? Have I have I showed you the picture of the wave that I have up here? Can I
no,
show this to
man.
you real
So
quick?
yeah, for
Watch
sure.
this. Watch this. So this is my family. Let me show this. Let me see if I can turn my phone around. I don't know if I can flip it. Okay, look at this. Can you can you see the wave?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's my wife on one side. That's my kids. That's my kids. And this is a wave. The wave is me. So if you look at that wave, that's a big fucking wave.
Yeah, it
And
is.
there's three medics out there. There's one surfer that's going the opposite way. That surfer's like, I don't want this shit. And then there's the surfer in the orange. And he's like, woo! That's me. Like, fuck that. We're going. You know what I mean? Like we're going for it. And so that's just what you do. You surf that wave, and then eventually, after surfing it for a while, you become the wave, right? You become it. You become that energy that you slowly are learning to like get into to be a part of, and then one day you're like, no, I am that energy, and you become the wave. But first you kind of look at it, you're scared, then you go out there for a while and play around in it and get rocked, and you kind of, I don't know if I want to do this, and it's always you in disguise. It's always you. That's the whole thing. It's just you in disguise, but you're like, I don't know if I can handle me, and then you get people around you that help you deal with crashes, because big wave surfing is about how well do you crash.
Mm-hmm.
And when you crash, you have someone to pick you up. And if you have that strength, then you have the courage to ride those waves. And so as you get on a wave and you ride one and you crash, and you got to be calm theoretically underwater, right, for a couple minutes while you know you're going to get through it, but it's intense and you got to relax. And as you come out of that, you're like, okay, if I can handle the crashes, I can surf big waves. And then as you surf the big wave and you're in the wave of energy, right, you become the wave. And so that's kind of like the evolution I've experienced. Is I've been terrified of my own power, and my whole life is coming to grips with becoming who I am, right? Which is it, the source. You align with it, and then it becomes, and I find myself doing music now. It's because, oh, that's how I'm the wave. Like that's the wave. And as I do music and get in front of a group, I am just the wave, and that's the experience. And then when it's done, I'm like, I had the same experience that everyone listening had. That was fucking insane. And I have no idea what I just said. None of that. I just was in it. And I
Yeah.
just want to be in it because being in it is palpable. Being in it is like that's a high. That's a real high. You know. So yeah. Anyway, just that's
Dude,
that's how I see it.
It's so awesome. I'm excited. So November, you say November
Yeah.
or next
I
week,
mean,
something like that.
well, we're
It'll be
ahead of
out when it's
schedule.
out. It'll be
I
out
will.
when
I'll
it's
let you know. I'll let you know. I'm
nice. And I will be directing people there. I will be, putting it, whether I'm putting it on the website, directing people there, we're definitely going to be sending people your way because I think the work that you're doing is incredible. And, the alignment with, you know, what we're doing and what we're doing in the future is I'm so excited
yeah.
about the impact that we can make together and individually, right? Like that it's all which is all the same anyway because it all comes from the same source. Doesn't matter how
That's
it
right.
happens, but it's gonna happen.
That's
And
right.
blessed and honored to have this, to continue to have these amazing conversations with you where we go deep on all the different topics and ride the energy. I'm so excited for everything that you're doing.
Right on.
Super excited to see where it goes, and let me know how we can support you. And we're gonna do some dope stuff together.
Come on.
Too many D's.
Let's go. I'm gonna call you next week, and we're just gonna walk this out and get this going because I'm gonna start having stuff to get to people, and let's just start getting it to people, with love. And it's ready next week. So November for sure. We can drop something the first week, but I want to next week just start really getting everything set because I think people deserve all this stuff. And I just want to get out of my own way, be selfless, and just let this all get to people. And that's my role. So we got a lot of work to do, Deanna. We're gonna crush it. And I look at things in 10-year blocks, right? So I look at
Mm-hmm.
this as a 10-year run we're about to do. That's how I see transformation. Like 10 years, let's knock it out. 10-year run, let's fucking crush this. Let's move millions of units together. Let's help people. Let's do it. Let's do some shows.
Yes,
All right.
let's do some stuff. 2021 is coming. Is coming in hot. All right.
That's
So to
right.
wrap this up, because I don't know. I know this is going to go on YouTube for sure, probably on IGTV. We're going to
Cool.
chop it up and make it all good. Where
Cool.
can people find you? Where can
Yeah.
people tune in?
Well, check out. I got a website, grahambetchart.com. So it's my name. That kind of has everything about me, all the stuff I'm doing. It'll have all my products, and that's kind of my home page. Then I have an online gym called trainthemind.com. This is a great place to check out. It's for youth, for parents, for athletes, for coaches, for that whole space. I brought a bunch of coaches on there. It's a way you can kind of do mental training workouts. And then social media, I'm starting to try to build Instagram. I didn't do social media forever, and I was like, okay, I got to start putting it out. So at Instagram, it's at Graham the Guide. So that's where you can kind of find me, right there.
Dope, dope. You can always find Winning Element stuff at The Winning Element, all the different places, www.BeTheWinningElement.com. Graham the Guide, you make me happy. You the man.
Right on, Deanna. Let's talk soon, okay? It's a great talk.
Pleasure. Have
All
a
right.
wonderful day.
You too. Much love. Right on.
All right.